republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I pledge allegiance to you, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
We're going to ask our secretary to give us any announcements and correspondence that we may have.
Madam President, we received a message from a group of individuals, quite a number of individuals. I've got like 7 or 8 pages here, signed on both sides by all types of signatures, a lot of signatures. And it's just from the proposed motion I put in the board packet is word. Anyway,
Can't hear you. We can't hear you.
we received a lot of petitions.
You got chairs that are ready to come in too if you want to wait for a second. There's chairs coming in the side and we can get some of the people that are outside in.
Turn it around.
Something was weighted on me in here.
There's too many other people standing on it. I am going to ask everyone to try to keep your noise and your chit-chat down a little bit because we are so many people in here and we do want everybody to be able to hear what's going on. So just keep your talk amongst yourself a little low so everybody can hear what's going on.
Lee received a petition pertinent to the members with the disagreement of the KOA Campgrounds of America. I've got 7 pages here, signed front and back, and so we would like to know that. And it says that we, the undersigned, request the members of Fort Clark Springs Board to place on the agenda to address a discussion, etc., etc. We did that. Allow input from the Fort Clark Springs member and RV tenants for a reasonable length of time. Request a motion be made to rescind the previous vote of approval, and request a new vote be taken by current board members prior to the consideration of any new contract with KOA. Madam President, could we go a little bit out of turn and simply jump to the discussion on KOA? We've got a lot of folks here that I think that's what they're here for.
Do you have a microphone you could turn up, please? We cannot hear you.
All right, I'll go to the minutes. Board of Directors Association convened a special meeting on Wednesday, December 28th at 5:30 in the boardroom, and we were all the board were here, and it was called in accordance with the bylaws and consideration of interim director of operations. As we know, Ron Stewart submitted his resignation effective December 31st. And Janelle was hired to act as interim director of operations until such an individual could be hired. And that's all I received.
Do I have a motion to accept our minutes from the December board meeting?
So, second.
I've got a first and a second to accept the board minutes from the December meeting. All in favor? Motion passes, 3 voting. Presentation of our financial statement.
I make a motion that the financial statement presented to the board be accepted as presented to the board for audit.
I have a motion to accept the financials as presented. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I've got a motion and a second to accept the financials as presented to the board. All in favor? Motion passes with 3 members of the board voting. Approval of transfer of funds.
I make a motion that we approve the transfer of funds for operating expenses as presented to the board in the packet.
I'll second.
I've got a motion and a second to accept the approval of transfer of funds. All in favor? Motion passes, 3 board members voting. At this time, we're going to ask Janelle, who is our interim director, to give us our operations report.
Well, y'all got to me quicker than I was expecting. I'll keep this brief because the board has a pretty lengthy agenda this morning. Motel during December, we had going to do it a little different this time. Instead of percentages or occupancy rate, I'm going to give the number of members. In December, we had 51 members that stayed in the motel for nights and 342 non-members. It's just the opposite at the RV park because we have more members that stay out there than non-members. Than non-members. For the previous month, there were 801 members that stayed out there and 370 non-members. It's not that many people, but the number of days that they occupy the space. The Men's Association out at the golf course has been doing a good bit of work. I don't know, is there someone here that'd like to address that when we get into the committees?
Anybody here from the golf committee?
Sandy, do you want to give that report when we get into
Okay, when we get into that, I'll let y'all cover that. At the adult center, there were a total of 591 individuals that visited the adult center. A number of these were ones that go on a regular basis, and primarily for gym, dance, ceramics, that type of thing. They brought in $134.10 in revenue. The teen center, on the other hand, had 234 kiddos that were there during the month. And again, a lot of these are repeats. And they brought in $258.58 after expenses. That's just guest fees and snacks. We sold 1 FRM during the month of December, and 7 transfers were processed. 8 memberships were given back, and this was due to death, finances, health, and there's one that cited other. The collection program continues to go well. There was a little over 6,000 collected during December. During the month of 2011, there were 17 properties foreclosed, and we have 34 members that are set up on an active payment plan. Security continues to be busy with the routine, patrols, responding to, disagreements between members, dogs barking, speeding, unusual things that they say, so they stay pretty busy. There's some new legislation has gone into effect pertaining to Texas Homeowner Association. Part of this is, we made everybody aware that everyone gets to vote in this election, whether they're delinquent or not. Another item is that we have to have all of our dedicatory instruments on our website, if in fact we have a website. All these documents have been scanned. That's our Declaration of Protective Restrictions, the rules, bylaws, and all the CCNRs. It's around 600 and some odd pages that we have to have scanned. Within the next couple of weeks, those will be set up on our website. The auditor will be closing out the year end within the next week and providing us closing entries on that. And he'll have a report, I guess, probably next month at the meeting. To date, on the deer hunting, we've brought in around $23,000. About 170 deer have been taken so far. There's 3 more weekends of hunting that will close out the end of February. The e-letter, I do apologize that we've had problems with the e-letter. We're hoping this next week to get things resolved, where we be back on a routine basis and have it as it should be, as it was previously. In closing, I just wanted to throw out a little item for y'all to think about, just a little trivia item. This past month, our electric bill ran right at $16,000. That's Rio Grande Electric and AEP combined. It does include the street lights. At that $16,000, divide that by the $34 a month that members contribute in assessments to the general fund. That took 470 individual members paying to pay the electric bill. Stop and think about that a minute. 470 members to just pay the electric bill. On our insurance premium, that's roughly $13,000 a month. That takes another 381 members paying their regular assessments just to make up that. So, the end of December with roughly 2,300 members, close to 2,400 members paying their assessments that were current. This only leaves about 1,400 members to absorb all the other day-to-day operations. So it's just a little trivia to think about. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we're going to go into our committee reports, architectural.
We had one permit to repair and replace, one modification, one cover over existing concrete, 2 were tabled for lack of information. We've only had 1 meeting this month. We only had permits in the last meeting.
Thank you. Recreation.
Yes, we
You may
have.
want to come use the microphone. It's over here behind and one. The whole group can't hear you.
Okay. Is it on? I don't think it's on. Hello? I can yell. We had two very successful potlucks in December and in January. We had over 100 in December for our Christmas potluck. Good time, getting to know each other. Everybody's having a good time. We do have a potluck coming up in February, the 3rd Monday, I believe it is. But February the 11th, we're going to have another poker run. It'll be $5 for the game and for hot dogs, chips, and drink. So we'd love to have you.
Thank you. RV committee.
We are alive and well at the RV park, as you can see from our attendance today. We're staying real busy out there. We had a meeting on Wednesday, and we had 31 at our meeting, plus our committee members. And it was a lengthy meeting. It was about 2 hours. And I'll just tell you what goes on out there for a little bit. On Mondays, we have carvers that meet in the kitchen at 9 o'clock. And we have real good crowds at carvers. At 3 o'clock, we have washers. And the washer games are a lot of fun. So if you don't have anything to do on Monday, come out and join us for the washer games. The ladies meet from 1 to 3 on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday in the kitchen for Stitch. And once a month, they have all kinds of goodies. And yesterday was that day. And so we all pigged out, and we're miserable all night. But the sweets are real good. And our next sweet day will be on February the 10th. And we will be celebrating Valentine's Day. On Tuesdays, we have potlucks. And there's games in the kitchen and the day room after the potluck. On Wednesday, we have Bible study at 10 o'clock in the morning, and Stitch from 1 to 3. On Fridays, we have Stitch, and on Saturdays, we have our breakfast. and we've been averaging about 80 people at our breakfast, and we appreciate you all participating and taking part in our breakfast because that money goes right back into the park, and we do appreciate all the volunteers. The park is full of volunteers, and they help us out so much, and I really do appreciate all the volunteers. Our chili cook-off is coming up on January the 30th at the RV Park, and that will be at noon, and I'm sure Darlene will tell us about that later on. Our day room stays busy with card players and games, and our kitchen is used for that also. One thing that has hurt our attendance at the RV Park is doing away with the discount cards. When we did away with Passport America and Good Sam and Campers Club and Escapees, we lose a lot of people. They come in because they think we honor those cards we always have, and now we can't honor them, so they leave without staying with us. We would like to have those back. And we have lost a rally because of that also. Escapees will not stay at a KOA park. And other than that, we have a lot of fun at the RV park, and we just have great people that stay there. And if you don't believe me, come out and visit with us. Thank you.
Can you tell us why they do not honor, why we do not honor the cards and the discount cards?
Mr. Stewart asked me to cancel all the discount cards because KOA only honors KOA discounts.
Thank you, Shirley. Golf committee?
On the committee that I attended, these are the issues that the committee brought up that they want the board to address, and I'll give those to Janelle.
Golf committee?
Thanks to our Men's Association, we now have a compost site. The site is completed, and we're ready to actually take materials. You can leave out your materials as you always do on Wednesdays, I believe. They'll pick them up instead of taking them off site some unknown place. They will take them over to the compost. The golf committee has two major projects going. First one actually relates to the compost site, and that is because we are going to try to make the fort a better golf course for less money than we're spending right now because of the water issues. The composting material is going to be used primarily to repair the fairways, give us some sort of soil out there that will absorb and hold water and therefore grass. And to do this, we're going to create basically a desert-type golf course with basically target landing areas so that we don't have to try and water and provide grass to all that rocky soil out there that nothing will grow in no matter what you do with it. So the composting is going to help us create good soil for our fairways. The second project the Men's Club is doing right now are taking down some of the old dead trees out on the golf course. All of this stuff can be done, but we really, really need volunteers, whether you golf or not, because the golf course is a critical part of the fort. And anything we do to make the golf course better is going to make the fort look better, and it's going to bring money into the fort, both to the golf course and the associated things like hotels and restaurants and so forth. So we're going to be putting a work board up in the green room in the clubhouse for those who would like to volunteer with the projects that we're setting up for the golf course. And but again, we need to thank the Men's Association because they put out the heavy labor to move these big, huge telephone poles around and the money to put it together.
Thank you.
I have a question. How much material in the compost area will you be able to take? Stick leaves.
We have, I think, 8, Dick, you're been there. We have 8 composting bins.
Yes, and
One of them will be left open because you have to move compost to the other site. We have a wood chipper and a closure coming in, right?
It arrived yesterday, and a thought there is when you put your refuse into the bags, don't include plastic, don't include cans, tin cans, and try to keep the rocks out of there, because if we put these through the new mulcher, it'll ruin the blades. And then the other thing that's really important that we didn't mention was that compost is not going to our landfill, so it's going to save the fort a lot of room out there. And I think that's probably one of the biggest side benefits that we have. So when you think about it, just think of what you're saving as far as hauling it over to our landfill and filling it up.
And the transportation costs to haul it out there. It's expensive to run those trucks to haul that stuff out of there. Also, this compost is pure compost. We're getting horse manure from individual friends of members and from the stables out here. We're not going to be taking any foodstuffs, no coffee grounds, none of that stuff. This is simply landscape materials, okay, to put in there. And then we'll need some volunteers to help moisten the compost and do all those, take its temperature and do all those things. I don't know how much we're going to produce because we're just starting. Okay, we won't know that for at least 3 months how much we're going to produce.
Mr. Garcia?
Yes, ma'am.
I just want you to know that the Horse Club is working very hard to fill those bids.
I don't know anybody in the garden club, but if anybody in the garden club has some expertise in composting, we really appreciate you contacting one of the members of the golf committee, the Women's Golf Association, or the Men's Golf Association. Or couples, any of us can.
Thank you. Community council. Look, I missed somebody. Presentation. Sorry.
For those who haven't seen over at Shafter Hall, we have finished all outside with the railing extended out on the sidewalks going up to the parking area. The only thing that's left to do in that building is to paint the deck. And the reason we've held off is because it's pressure-treated wood. We wanted to weather out a little bit more before we put something on it. But other than that, that's where we stand right now. The next project will be the butcher block, which is going to take a lot of work. We have to reroute the water underneath of it. And that one's going to be a bit more money than we have right now in our account. So that's where we stand right now.
Now, community council.
Yes.
I'm subbing in for Tina Hernandez, our current president, who's not able to be here. Community council met and had their annual election, and if there's anyone in this room who is willing to serve as secretary of community council, would you please volunteer? Raise your hand right now and I'll grab you.
Judy, I have a recruit.
Georgia? Thank you.
I talked to her this morning.
As many of you know, Tina's husband is very ill and she's not able to do anything at the fort right at the present time. But we're all holding very good thoughts for Robert's speedy recovery and that she'll be back with us as president of community council as soon as possible.
Recycling.
Okay. Believe it or not, we already have another pickup order in for a load. We have a full load to go. It took us exactly 1 month this time. So it is picking up markedly. We're noticing new fort faces as well as across the street. And Henry, the city is participating, and we appreciate that a lot. It's a growing thing. Every ton of recyclables we ship doesn't go in our landfill. We get paid a small amount of money for our recyclables. I mean, I'd like to see it be a whole lot more, but right now it isn't because China decided to stop taking recyclable plastic from the United States. Just when you think you've got it solved, you know. But in any case, we still estimate that from the inception of recycling in 2009 to present, the recycling effort here on the fort has saved the fort, you members, about $100,000. you. So, you know, for something that, we're way more than happy with what's happening. And all of you who participate are to be thanked. You're doing the Fort a huge favor.
Thank you. At this time, I would like to take the time to thank all of our volunteers out there in that audience. Without you, a lot of the stuff that is getting done would not be done. And I would like to personally thank each and every volunteer out there in that audience tonight.
Debbie,
Yes,
can I speak small, please?
Donna.
I don't think Marla's here, so on behalf of Fort Clark Days, which is March 2nd and 3rd this year, the committee meetings are every other Monday, and this coming Monday is the meeting. For those of you that don't know, Fort Clark Days works so that the monies that are earned go back into the fort, to the preservation of the fort buildings and its history, of course. I picked up the order of buttons last night. The buttons are $3 a piece, and we hope that you would buy them and wear them and advertise wherever you go, because we have the reenactors, and it will be wonderful. And we hope to. Debbie, last year we were able to put back how much money to the fort for the
12,000 some odd, 12,008 I believe. I wouldn't swear to that, but that's pretty close. That went back in, and if you'll notice, the Shafter Hall building is what that money was spent on. Every penny that is earned after we put the event on goes back into the fort.
Okay, thank you for that. And so let anyone encourage, and we always need volunteers there. Like Debbie said, we appreciate every single one of you that can come and volunteer. There's always something for someone to do. And I believe the entertainment committee is looking for some local people that would like to do any kind of entertaining at the commissary stage. So, you know, don't be bashful. We know we have a lot of talent here. And one more thing. The Historical Society regularly meets the fourth Saturday of every month, and so next Saturday we have a special presenter, and her name is Dr. Shirley Mock. A lot of people know her. She came in as a friend of the fort, and because she's a researcher, and one of her recent books is on the Seminole women, and we've had a couple of pictures in the paper to show that she has been here for Juneteenth and all these others things that are here when I'm not here in the summer. But the people here in town know her well, but we would like to invite everybody to come and listen to her presentation. It will be well worth. If you're interested in Fort Clark, you'll be interested in this. Thank you.
Thank
Donna,
you.
what day did you say that was?
I'm sorry?
What day did you say?
Next Saturday at 9 o'clock.
Now we're going to go into number 10, discussion, consideration, rescind previous action, read proposed KOA agreement.
Madam President, I move to rescind action taken by the Board of Directors at the August 20th, 2011 board meeting, in which the Director of Operations was authorized to enter into an agreement with KOA for the RV park, tent camping, and motel. I need a second.
Do I have a second? I've got a motion and a second to rescind the board action to go into an agreement with KOA for the RV park, tent camping, and motel. Discussion?
On the minutes concerning the agreement that Ron should enter into an agreement, Henry made an amendment to that motion, and it was put in the minutes room, so people think that the contract has already been signed, which it hasn't been.
Can't hear you.
Use the microphone.
More discussion. Go around again.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify that when the original motion came into play, I amended it to state that there would be no money exchanged with KOA, and nothing would be signed until we decided whether any improvements that needed to be made were in fact taken care of. And that, so there was no agreement signed. The only thing the general manager had authority to do was have discussions with KOA, but he did not have the authority to sign any agreement, and no agreement has been signed. So I just wanted to make sure that that was clarified in the record. I need people to understand that there has been no money exchanged between the Fort Clark Association and KOA. There has been no formal signed agreement of any sort with KOA. So the only authority that the general manager had at that time was to have discussions with them.
Well, then why was the RV park told not to accept those cards they were accepting?
That was an issue that I guess the general manager decided to take upon himself. I personally was not aware of that. It's my fault for just not being as well informed as I should be, but I was not aware of that.
Would you state your name, please?
Linda Barczynski. I have a copy of the contract and the addendums to the contract, and according to the contract and the addendums to it, the only reason that contract was signed because the work required by KOA was not completed by October 15th. Otherwise, there's marked here for the signatures, and it could have been signed if the work had been completed. And that's what the contract states, and the addendum.
All right, I have a motion and a second to rescind the vote that we would go into an agreement with KOA. All in favor? Motion passes to rescind the KOA contract or negotiations. Is there anybody else?
Madam
I don't know your
Chairman?
name, sir.
Jim Runger. My question being is you've rescinded the motion. Are the negotiations going to continue or do they cease now?
They are ceased as now. They're gone.
Thank you.
Good question. Would you stand and state your name, please?
Yeah. Sharon Isaac. Can they start having the discounts again so we can get some of this business back that
As
we
far as I
lost?
know, we will discuss that when we go into executive session, and I don't see a reason why not.
Okay, good, thanks.
Do we need to have a vote to discuss not going and considering ever going into a contract?
We can't do that because there's a new board comes in here in March, and we can't speak for them.
I'm Lois Johnson, and I would like to just have you board members think about when you put this kind of thing on the board. I mean, when you discuss it, why do you do it in the summertime when most of the RVers are gone? And would you please consider that we are valid members of Fort Clark Springs as everyone else is here, and that we have the right to notify of such things that affect us, and that we don't appreciate having it snuck through in the summertime.
It is noted.
Dean Bowman, why do you have to discuss this, bringing back these discount cards in executive session? That doesn't fall under the rules of an executive session.
Oh, man.
Well,
Exactly.
it does have to do with contracts and what we will allow and what we do not allow. And as far as I'm concerned, that is type of a contract when you're allowing somebody to come in here and we're giving a discount.
That isn't, you don't sign any contracts.
No, it's free. It's free.
You didn't discontinue it that way.
Yes, it was discontinued.
Garcia.
When you discuss these discounts are issued by various, I'll use the word agencies. So there has to be some discussion with those, and so it comes under the guides of a contract. What are they expecting? And yeah, you say they're free, and it's free advertisement, but you need to make sure, you know, what you have in the small print when you're dealing with these discount cards. And that's why the board will go into executive session and discuss this. If everything is fine, everything's above board with these folks that we're dealing with, then there's no reason why not proceed. But I think the membership would really want us to look at this very closely and make sure that we read the fine print of whoever's issuing these discount cards.
Yeah, but you don't sign any contracts with them.
My question is, was the decision to do this done in executive session?
No, they didn't know about it.
And it wasn't done.
That was, to do away with the discount card was the Director of Operations decision.
So if it wasn't done, if it was not done in executive session, therefore, has it been done at all? And is there a need to rescind it in executive session or discuss it?
No. Rescind what?
And if it was not done properly to begin with, is it considered a done deal, or can they just reinstate it?
Since they've been canceled.
We don't know how much of a discount we're giving to these people. We don't know how much. Shirley they come in here.
Shirley does. Ask Shirley.
Shirley would know that. I need to go down for that right now.
May I?
Hang on. Shirley's got the floor. I've already recognized her.
On Passport America, we honor Passport America for 2 days at half price when they come in. After the 2 days, if they stay longer, they pay regular price. About half of the people that are at the RV park now came through Passport America when they came into the park. Campers Club, and also when we sell a membership for Passport America, right now it's $44 a year, we get $22 of that membership. Campers Club is on the same deal. We honor that for 2 days, and then they usually stay longer. Good Sam is 10% off when they come in. Escapees, we give 15% discount. Any other questions?
Statement, since our operational director canceled these contracts with the company, then we have to go back to the company.
No.
Yes, we do. The operations manager instructed me.
Garland.
That was some more reason that we needed to really kind of discuss this.
Well,
with
without
the interim
Shirley,
director.
you're not going to know it.
Right. Well, we can ask Shirley to come to an executive session. I can ask anybody to come into executive session. But this board, that was what we had a director of operations for. He made these type of decisions without a lot of the board being involved in it. But we want to get more informed of what kind of discounts that we are giving and who we might want to help us bring in more people. So it needs to be thought through a little better than what this KOA was done.
I did notify all the companies that we were canceling them, except Good Sam. They never called me back on that one. We would need to go through the proper channels to get the discounts back when you all vote to do that.
And the new advertising.
Right.
So you will not be in their book because it was canceled.
Allison.
Camps Club USA is no longer, but their memberships have all transferred to Passport America. Just so that you know that all Camp Club USA has merged with Passport America.
Linda.
Can we make a suggestion that please have Shirley in your executive session, someone who knows and has a list of the ones that we want, because every one of them is free advertising.
Yes.
Every one of them should be accepted.
I agree with that 100%. It's just a decision through the in-house. I had one more handout. Sharon?
Sharon Isaacs, can we get back in contact with that group that has canceled and get them back and let them know that we've gone back to the original way?
That's what we're going to do. That is exactly what we're going to do.
Okay.
When Mr.
Runger, not to be critical of the board, could we set a time frame for this?
Well, we plan to do it today.
That's a wonderful
Make a
time
decision.
frame. Thank you.
Now that we have rescinded the vote, I think that we're going to go into number 11, discussion, consideration, maintenance work at RV park area, tent camping area.
As far as I know, the upgrades of the RV, I'll make a motion that we continue doing the upgrades in the park area, tent camping area. People that use that can no longer, take hot water showers. They come in there when some of them at camp there went to go use the RV park and they weren't allowed to use it. And this would be an asset to the
Shirley, stand up.
to the Fort Clark Springs that people would use it more readily. If bikers would come to and stuff like that, if they were allowed to take a hot shower. Motorcycle groups that come in that like to camp out. I don't know if Mary Partner's in the group here, but I know a lot of her groups would love to come there because they take hot showers.
The Boy Scouts would like to come. There are a number of campers that would come if we had hot water there.
I would make a motion that we continue and turn the work order in to get a letter of compliance, to get electricity.
I've got a motion to continue the work at the RV park. Do I have it? And the tent camping area, do I have a second?
Hands up. There are hands up.
I cannot recognize anybody until we have a motion and a second to have discussion.
We haven't had discussion yet.
But I have to have a second before we can do discussion. I've got a motion. Do I have a second? I have a motion and a second to discuss the camping area and the remodeling at the RV park. Now we can have discussion. Shirley.
About 4 or 5 years ago, when the festival came in and the motorcycle group was out there, we could not let them use the showers because we were full up. We've only been full up one time since I've been out there in the last 10 years. Since then, the last 2 or 3 years, we have offered to let them use the showers with hot water at the RV park for $2 a piece. We offer all tenters that option. If they want to come to the RV park and use our showers with hot water, they pay an extra $2 per shower. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more discussion?
Yes, yes, look up.
Linda.
I've been an RVer since 1976. Any tent area that I go to, you have a pit toilet. There are no showers. If you want to take a shower, you drive to the shower. Another thing is on the RV park restrooms. I think we have a bid of about $7,500. Apparently the work is finished in the 2 bathrooms up there. Does not, supposedly that work was done to meet the KOA standards. Well, I'm here to tell you those standards were not met. So we spent $7,500 on the members' money on work on the bathrooms that did not need to be done unless they met KOA standards, which do not meet the KOA standards. When we have a corner of the building that is cracked, we've been asking for an engineer to come up there and check the corner of that building, but he put $7,500 on one end and don't know what's happening on the other end when it's ready to fall in. Ron Stewart told us we could put some caulk in there. I don't think caulk is going to hold a foundation.
Okay.
I have one question. Who is going to monitor the showers at the tent area and keep kids from being there? Who's gonna clean them? Does that fall on Shirley?
Who's gonna pay the electric bill?
Yes.
The electric bill will go right along with everything else we have as far as the solar.
You better up the price. Gotta raise the rate.
Not necessarily. Mary Frances.
The hot water can be done with a demand hot water heater that's run on gas, on butane. Putting electricity in there, I did the work on getting bids on that some years ago. And to put the electricity in there, Rio Grande Electric was very willing to help us, but it was going to be costly. And so in terms of hot water, that's the big issue. It can be done with gas. And in terms of who goes there and who doesn't go there, probably if you advertise it as a wilderness camping, people would expect it to be like it is. But I don't think we advertise it as wilderness. We advertise it as tent camping.
No, we
and there are
don't.
some expectations from families. Boy Scout troops cannot afford $2 extra per scouter to go get hot water. It's their tub. They can take a shower in the creek probably. But then they get criticized for that too. But, it just would be good for all of us to have a better tent camping area. Families that like to camp would very much like to have a camping place here that's a little bit higher grade than what I see. It needs the streets, the roads need to be graded. There's just lots of just work that needs to be done there to make it a nice place for families to come and camp.
Katie Brown.
Do we have an estimated cost of the upgrades?
Lee, did you have estimated cost of that?
It's in $6,900 is what it was. $6,500, yes. We do have a, but that was doing it with the electric. Lee Winchell?
Somehow, by helping out Ron when Ron was
Speak up.
running the management.
Speak up, Lee.
I said when Ron was running the management, told him I'd help him get bids for that particular project up there, and I did. Listening to the lady here, he was one that spoke about them being finished. They're not finished. Okay. Part of the problem up there addressing the office itself is a lousy electrical problem. They have too many things that are running out on extension cords and plugged in the wrong place, and that is what's holding up completing the bathrooms there. Okay? For example, in the ladies' room, you have a panel right near the water, where people are washing. That's strictly against code. So that's one of the things I looked at for Ron when he was there, and I've been doing it ever since. The wilderness, yes, we talked about that, and on demand was the suggestion that I gave, although not propane, electric. It's easier. The pole has been, I think, ordered.
It's not installed.
No, it takes time to get this all to go through. Yes.
The quote was for propane. Just get the $6,500
I know.
that was to install
I
propane
know,
on demand.
we changed it to electric because of the tank. We had to find a place to put the tank. And the electric would be coming in, so, and it's less.
Did it change the cost?
No.
I have a question. You're saying that the work has not been completed in the bathroom?
Yes.
So this $7,500 bid for those bathrooms are somewhere around there, I know it was over $7,000. Is that gonna include the electrical work, the lighting, the epoxy on the walls, the locks and locked doors for showers, which KOA requires? Had you been told what the standards were for KOA to get that work done?
I've been in many KOAs, I know exactly what.
But I mean, it's right here, the addendum to the contract points to every page and everything that has to be done. Were you told what had to be done?
I never took it on in the form of strictly KOA.
But that was the reason for
I
having it.
understand that, but there was nothing that was.
Where we're at, we're not having to meet KOA standards at all now. So we are going to do the repairs. We plan on doing some more things down at the RV park. We understand the RV park brings in money. There are some things that need to look at. You made me aware of the corner of the building. We had a director of operations. He was to take care of the day-to-day operations. The board was just here for kind of a guidance. We hired somebody. We expected him to do his job. As of now, Janelle is our interim director. Things have been brought to our attention, and I suppose as long as we're working like we are, this board will be more involved until we get a new director of operations hired. We have learned a lot of things, but if you'll look up here, there's not one member of this board that's been here over a year except for one of us. And I do want y'all to know that we have been kind of thrown in a position. We've lost a manager, we've lost an accounting, we've lost a front desk help, and we have new laws that we're worried about getting the new laws to comply with the state happening. And there's a lot of things going on, a lot of people do not know. But we are trying to do our best with what we have. And I, for one, have spent many hours up here trying to learn what's going on with Janelle. And I'm trying to be aware of the things that need to be done. I have listened to many of you out here on this KOA, and I know we've got a lot of questions, there's a lot of hands.
Mr. President?
Yes.
I've been here for 11 years, and since I've been here, the RV park, at least a third of the people are parked in the mud out there. And I think we all look at our priorities, and they've been trying to get gravel out there on some of these RV sites, and nothing's happening to them. And it's kind of ridiculous to spend $10,000 on a tent area when the people over there are wading around in mud and have to get a tow truck in to get their rigs out when they leave. So I think maybe we all look at some of our priorities and see what they are.
So at this time, we're going to go ahead. We've got our discussion.
Stand up.
We've got
say something?
right here.
Questions been called for.
I have called for the question.
He has already called for the question. We're going to do our vote. I've got a motion and a second to proceed with the tent camping area and the maintenance work at the bathrooms. All in favor? Motion
Jeez.
passes with 3 members of the board voting.
What a waste.
Item number 12, discussion, consideration, amendment to the declaration of, discussion, consideration, purchase of maintenance vehicles. I'm going to ask that we table this. I have requested some more information. Until I get the information to do the proper research, I believe that we're just going to table that item until next month. Discussion, consideration, amendment to declaration of protective restrictions. Increase from 5 to 7 board members and restructure impound fund to finance the preservation of association-owned buildings in historic district. What we're wanting to do is put this on the agenda for the election in March. Do I have a motion?
Madam President, I'll make a motion that we do this, but during discussion, I'll make a motion that we cannot do this at this time because it's a change to the declaratory entrance and bylaws, and we have to have a first and second reading. This information should have been brought to the board prior so we can have input from the membership when we're changing the declaratory entrance. We have a first reading, and then the following month we have a second reading.
We're just asking to put it on the ballot. We're not asking it. Unless it's approved, we don't do a first and a second reading.
Madam President, I think you're looking for two separate motions here.
Okay, we'll take them one at a time.
Madam President, to change the declarations of protective restrictions, it has to be a membership vote.
I
This is
agree
not
with-
a board vote.
That's what we're wanting to do, is have a membership vote, put this on the ballot for March.
Then the
We're wanting to
motion
put
needs
it
to
on.
say-
I need a motion to be able to put it on the ballot. To be voted on by the membership.
That sounds good to me, that's a good motion.
So we just, when we changed the bylaws on action taken by a board meeting, it was written up, it was written up, and at one board meeting, we had a reading, and then you have to have the second reading, on this.
But this is going to a membership vote. All the motion would be, I move to place these two items to increase the board members from 5 to 7.
Well, I withdraw my motion.
Put $1 from the impound fund into the preservation fund for work on historic buildings to be placed before the membership in conjunction with the director's election. It's just a membership vote.
Would they be split into two separate votes?
Yes, sir. If you'll look
On the ballot.
right here.
Well, then it should be written up.
If you look at ballot number 2, proposition here, or ballot number 2, right down here, proposition number 1, increase number of board members from 5 to 7. Proposition number 2, restructure impound fund to finance preservation in the historic district. And up above, you've got your election of whoever they want to vote for.
It should be two motions. We've got two different issues.
All we want to do is put them on the ballot so the membership can vote. It's one issue, we want them on the
Yeah.
ballot.
Make two motions in,
The
satisfy 'em.
membership had made an interest to go from 5 members to 7 members. That came in a meeting out here for membership. The other one was because this is the last year that 4 O'Clock Days has actually put all their money into the fort. Where else, to keep our buildings in proper repair, how are we going to finance it? So we would like $1 out of the impound fund to go towards historic building restoration. That's painting, wood repair, screens, stuff like that, strictly in the historic district on fort-owned buildings.
Debbie,
Yes.
it will not cost you another dollar. It comes out of the $4 that already goes in there.
So that's all we're
Not
wanting
cost you
for
another dollar.
you to be able to vote on these in March. We want to put it on the ballot. That's all we want.
This was the same issue that you had once before, it was worded such that people didn't understand.
So I need a,
Hopefully this time, it will be put on the ballot so people will understand.
It's on the ballot.
It's on the
we have to approve it to put it on the ballot. So do we have a motion to put it on the ballot? All right, let's do it by one.
We need, I want more input, I want to know who, why, what, when, where. We've got individuals, this board that have served on a seven-member board, and they did not like it. They voted down, they went to 5 members. I want to know why all of a sudden we want to go to 7.
Well, then why didn't you discuss it before now? Because I made the motion for 7 at least 3 months ago. So you've had 3 months to discuss this and/or call a special meeting, which nobody seems to do around here. Board members need to call more membership meetings.
Oh.
Or a workshop, either one.
Well, Mr. Ebert?
I think we've been given an opportunity as a group to make some decisions for a change. And if I'd like to see this on the ballot, and I'd like to see explanations for why you want to do each one of these. And then the members can make a decision which is advisory to the board. If you want an opportunity to give them some advice, this is your opportunity. If you want to sit there and argue over something that you're not going to accomplish anything with, feel free to continue.
I have one more handout in the audience.
Kathy?
Oh, I was just curious, it says preservation of the buildings in the historic district. Does that include Dickman Hall?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right.
I just wanted want some clarification because I don't know how that fund is structured. Is that an IRS fund? Can we do that?
We would have to change the wording to include historic preservation.
And we can do that?
If it was the membership
If
vote.
it's passed by the membership.
No,
No, we can't?
no. If it's passed by the membership.
Well, I guess due to a lack of a motion and a second, I will take them separately. Number 1, the declaration of protective restrictions on the ballot for a membership vote, a motion should be made to the effect on strictly the preservation of the buildings. Do I have a motion to put that on the ballot? Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I've got a motion and a second to put on the ballot the preservation of the historic buildings out of the impound fund, which would go to the membership as a vote. All in favor? I have 3 members voting for adding to the ballot the $1 for the historic preservation of our buildings. Number 2, I need a motion to put on the ballot from going from a 5-man to a 7-man board. Do I have a motion? I've got a motion. Do I have a second?
Come on. Let the members decide.
How about a show of hands?
That motion actually dies for lack of a second.
Boy, we got a good board up here.
Protect yourself.
What, are you afraid of your job?
For re-election.
I could vote if I had a second.
Somebody second it.
Dan made motions, why can't you second?
Mr. Young.
How about a show of hands from the members present? After all, we're the boss.
That's it.
Right.
Right. At publicly owned companies, members can put things on the ballot. Can the membership put that on the ballot? Does anybody know?
I would think we could.
Only by petition can members request something to be placed before
And
the
the
membership
membership
board.
By petition.
So yes, by petition, the membership can put that on by,
How many
Let
members?
me see, how many do you have to have on the petition?
At one time, it required 400 memberships, individual memberships. But it might have, I needed it because of these new changes in the Texas Homeowner Association laws. So I'll just have to check on that and see.
10% of current memberships.
Okay. Yeah.
Could we have put in the minutes that a show of hands of the members that's here that approves or disapproves of that?
no.
In the minutes?
Why not?
Because it's a board meeting, not a member meeting.
I didn't ask for a motion to do anything. I just asked to have it in a meeting whether members here approved or disapproved of it.
Consider it advisory.
It's my understanding that something like this you have to consider the entire membership, not only the people that are present here today.
I didn't ask to make a decision or to pass anything.
Just
I
want
just
to note it
asked
in the minutes
that
that
the
the majority
members
would
that
like it
are
on the ballot.
present here approved of it or not.
That would fall under discussion, wouldn't it?
I would think that the members of the board up there could at least give the members a chance to vote on it by just seconding it. They can't make the decision for us. Let it go through, see what we think of it instead of just making a decision.
Yeah, what's hurting us? Second.
They lose their control.
Yeah, that's just it. That's just it.
Don't know your name, sir.
I agree with what the board is doing. This is a board meeting, not a membership meeting. And so the board has to make the decisions on what they're going to do or not do. We can't force them to do something we want.
Yes, we can.
I would like to see it on the ballot also, but it's their decision to put it on, not ours.
We hired them to speak for us.
It's my understanding that the president can call a special meeting at any time. It's also my understanding that a majority of the voting membership can request a special meeting at any time. That will cost money to this board. A lot of it. I think somebody, I don't know, Janelle knows, to mail out to every member. And all it requires is that that special meeting be put on notice to every member. And then there is a majority vote at that meeting. So, even if you send it to Oregon and they can't come, whoever's present down at the Post Theater and raises their hand can do it. But we have delayed this so long since I made the motion to get the 7 board members that we don't have time. So now we've got another expense because we'll have to put out another vote, a whole new vote. It won't be put on this ballot. And that was to save money to put it on this ballot. Can we reconsider another second to that motion?
I cannot get a second to the motion. I would like to go on record as I would like to see this on our ballot myself. And I just want to be on record as membership knowing I would like to see it on there. Being that it has no second, I cannot go further with it, so we'll go to the next agenda item.
Debbie, could we find out why they don't want to say that?
My concern, and I'll be more than happy to state this, my concern is, under the new laws guiding the homeowners association, you have your delinquent members, and we have a lot of them, are allowed to vote. We have to send ballots out to every delinquent member who doesn't pay his assessments, doesn't support the homeowners association at all, but they're going to have a right to say how you and I are going to operate, and they don't put any money into it. We're talking about delinquent members. That we've got almost $500,000 of delinquent members, and they're going to get allowed to vote this year according to Texas state law. Now, wait a minute, let me finish. I have a problem sending out a ballot having delinquent members voting on how we're going to operate. Now, by Texas state law, we've got to do that. If you have 5 to 7, from 5 to 7, that allows you 2 more positions that are delinquent, and they're allowed to settle on the board. They're allowed to run for the board. And you can't ask, by law, you can't ask what their status is.
Yes, you can. Through open government and Texas law, you certainly can. I have a question.
One more question and that's it. We need to move on. Linda?
My question is, what is the percentage of delinquent members? You have to send a ballot to them anyway.
Correct.
You're going to have to send it to them anyway. And all we're asking you to do is add that to the ballot.
What's Larry's reason?
He doesn't have one.
Larry, what is your opinion? Why were you not saying?
Somewhere along the line, I guess I missed it being discussed, going from 5 to 7. I do not remember that conversation. I don't remember seeing it in writing, and I'm an old-time reporter. I want to know who, what, why, when, where. I have a number of friends in the community that have served on this board, that have served when it was a 7-member board. Those people that have served on that board for a number of years have said, you don't want to go to a 7-member board. It simply causes chaos, friction, arguments, discussion. You don't get anything done. Now, hold it. Let me finish. If you have a problem with that, for goodness sakes, let me know why you want to go to a 7-member board. I want to hear why. I want to know who you're talking about and why you're doing it, so on and so forth. Give me some information. This was thrown at me yesterday afternoon. And I'm sorry. Somebody probably went on a ballot. It may have been one of those times when I was in the hospital, out of business or something. I can't help that. Somewhere along the line, I missed it. I'm sorry. I cannot vote on it until I know what the purpose of
You want to know
for
why?
enlarging the board.
You want to know why? Because
Yeah, but I want to know why.
tired of being ramrodded by 4 people sitting up there that's saying you're going to do this and you're going to do that.
That's your opinion, bud.
That's my opinion, and I think that's the opinion of a lot of people here too.
Why don't you shut up? A lot of people talking out of turn.
Correct.
I think the meeting's probably getting out of control a little bit. But I think if you look at the board you have up there right now, you have a 5-member board. 3 of them have been replaced since the last elections. So if you go to 7-member board, you're going to have just more of the same stuff. You have people on here that they come on the board with good faith. They want to help the association out. And a crowd like this coming out here, talking down to them and stuff like that, they quit and they leave the board. So you need to respect these people up here because they're doing a job for us. Seven members are just going to make it work like I said. We'll have more infighting on the board. And here with 3 members replaced since the last election, you're going to have more people being replaced on the board. Because people are going to quit because they're not going to put up with all this.
May I speak? I didn't sign, but I have been a member before there was a camp.
Speak
I
up.
have been in this organization for a number of times. Have not been able to come to the board meetings because I have been one of those outside members. And quite frankly, I came with my kids so I could park a tent here. So I have been here for a long time. But I have seen the 7-minute board as bad as any board we've ever had. And they gridlock in the meeting. And I personally am one of those people who voted for a 5-member board.
All you're doing is asking for a vote.
The only thing that I have to say about a board is if you want to know what they decide in executive session, you come back and find out. You don't come for the discussion and everything, and then you leave. You stay to the very end. When they come back from executive session, they will inform us of what they have decided. And then we can go through proper channels if we don't agree with them. But the problem is that you leave, and they can't tell you what they've decided. And that's one of the things that they need to do. And then that will cause all of this here gossip and all of this other stuff to go. But the problem is, they are the elected people. And personally, I'm upset that they do not get recognized with the board. And they just grumble out. Nobody can hear anything. I suggest that you be recognized by the person that recognizes you and listen carefully. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
We're going to number 14, report from nominating committee, petitions received.
From the nominating committee regarding petitions for the Board of Directors election. Pursuant to the bylaws, Fort Park Springs Association, the nominating committee did not receive any petitions for review and placement on the upcoming ballot for the Board of Directors election. Signed by the nominating committee, Glenn White, Chairman.
So we had no petitions given. Anybody's going to run by petition. Number 15, report from board secretary, number of ballots to be sent out.
Report from the board secretary and ballots to be sent out. As reported previously, changes to the Texas Homeowners Association laws have been implemented. Some were effective in September, while others became effective this month. By law, we can no longer disqualify a member from voting because they are not current on their assessments. Another change to the law requires that the members sign their ballot. Only one signature will be required, even if the membership is listed as Jane and John Doe. Both may sign the ballot if they so choose. Also, you would be required to affix your own postage to the ballot you mail back to the auditors. A total of 3,829 ballots will be mailed out on February 10, 2012.
So there are some changes in the way that the ballots are done this year. As you know, we have to send one to every member of Fort Park Springs, whether you're current or you're not current. You do have to sign your ballots this year, and you have to put your own stamp on your envelope when you mail it back. Please mail it back to the address on the envelope, not to Fort Park Springs for it to count. Drawing for placement of candidate names on the ballot. At this time, we're going to ask the people that are running for the board. If y'all would all come up here and stand, we will draw for positions on the ballot.
If you'll give me just a minute to get them ready, y'all have got me so rattled. I just put down 4 names to be drawn down.
We're going to need Patty, Larry, Henry, myself, Keely Pete, Robbie Robinson, Ralph Salade, and Lee Winchell. If y'all would come up here, please.
We need to use your hat, Mr. Dunn.
All right.
We're just going to go alphabetically on who's going to get to draw first. Hattie, that would be you drawing first. Please don't open it up till we ask you to open them up. Lawrence Farlow, Larry. Just one. Henry Garcia. Debbie Isaac.
Piece of paper out of it.
Karen Pete. Robbie Robinson. Ralph Chalet. There's two of them. Lee, you get the last one. In alphabetical order, I'd ask you to open up your thing. Hattie, would you open up yours? And number 8. Hattie will be number 8 on the ballot. Lawrence, Larry, would you open up yours? Number 6. Larry will be number 6 on the ballot. Henry, would you open up yours? Number 7. Henry Garcia will be number 7 on the ballot. Karen Peak, would you open up? Or Debbie Isaac, would you open up yours? I'm sorry. God, you might get mad.
Number 3.
Debbie will be number 3 on the ballot. Karen, would you open yours up?
Also known as Keely, Karen Keely Peak. 2.
Karen Keely Peak will be number 2 on the ballot. Robbie Robinson, would you open yours up?
Number 1.
Robbie Robinson will be number 1 on the ballot. Ralph, would you open yours up? Number 4. Lee, would you open yours up? Lee will be number 5 on the ballot. So would you read those off? Did you got it written down?
Yes, sir. Number 1 will be Robbie Robertson. Number 2, Karen Keely Peak. 3, Debbie Isaac. 4, Ralph Delay. 5, Lee Mitchell. 6, Larry Barlow. 7, Henry Garcia. And 8, Eddie Burlett.
Good luck in your election.
We'll go to number 17, approval, ballot, and candidate resumes. We'll have to make changes according to what we voted on. Do I have
I make a motion that we accept the ballot as presented to the board, except for with the changes that the board voted on.
I have a motion and a second to accept the ballot as it was, as we voted on it today. All in favor? Motion passes, 3 members of the board voting. Discussion, consideration, request for membership label listing.
Madam President, I make a motion that we accept Mr. Winchell's request to have a labeling list.
I've got a motion and a second to accept Lee Winchell's request for a label list. All in favor? Motion passes, 3 members of the board voting. Number 19, discussion, consideration, amendment to bylaws.
That was an item you asked me to place on the agenda for discussion. It was, what it pertained to is there will have to be some changes in the bylaws to comply with this new Texas Homeowner Association legislation.
Yeah.
We've already been working on that for a couple of months, but it's...
Yeah, I asked you to put that on there so that the membership would be, understand what the new bylaws are about and how people would, we don't need a motion, just going to present it to the membership on, that we're required by state law to let them vote, let them run for the board, and I wanted your membership to be informed of the law. that if you're a delinquent member, you can run for the board, and you're allowed to vote for a board in the homeowners association. A lot of you people are probably asking why this came about, and if you pay attention to the news, a lot of your lawyers were foreclosing on homes that only owed $300, and they were foreclosing on them, and they wouldn't let the people buy back their homes and stuff, so they wound up foreclosing on $300,000 and $400,000, and only $300 owed on to them, and it finally got to the state legislature, and they passed a law that you can't do that, to prevent that.
I have a question concerning this law. What recourse do we as members have against people that do not pay their fair share? What can we do? We can't foreclose on their property any longer. So, what can we do in order to force these people to pay up?
We're allowed to foreclose on the property. We got to give them the right to run for the board and run for a vote. But that doesn't take away our right to foreclose on their property if they're in debt.
There's just some new laws, and I think the person that's doing that for the court is going to some type of a seminar with the lawyer to learn some of these new things, so we're up to date exactly. That would be legal at this present time, yes.
She's gonna leave.
And,
But,
as a board member, I would personally like to thank Linda O'Brien. I know she's taken heat from people that we foreclosed on, but she's did a fine job. We collected over $130,000 in monies that were owed to the fort. A lot of people don't know this, but that position that Linda's sitting in right now was Bill Hahn's brainchild, and that was an outstanding thing that he did for the fort. We made a new position, and it's benefiting the fort. We're getting money back that are owed to us, and I think the membership ought to recognize the fact that some people don't like him. He don't talk to me because I don't agree with everything he wanted done, but I appreciate the work that he put into it and the benefit that he's brought to the membership, and I think the board ought to recognize. The board should recognize him as that type of benefit, and the membership should recognize that he did provide a financial benefit to the fort what short time he served on the board. Thank you.
Why are we
Sure.
Is this $3,000 that's been collected, has that been collected since Linda started?
In less than a year, yes, ma'am.
Are we going to have someone to continue? I've heard that Linda and Sean are going to be moving away. I'm sorry to hear that. Do we have someone that's going to continue this work? Because, I got my questionnaire on my income tax, and it said number of dependents, and I put down 3,200. I have no patience with deadbeats, and I think we should form a kneecap-breaking committee. I know some guys from Chicago that know.
As far as that position, again, another person doing Linda's job, my personal feelings on it, we definitely need that position, but that's the way I feel about it.
Okay, moving on.
Madam President, can I address the board? Teresa
Bridget.
Bridget. Yes, thank you. Just how long can a person be delinquent and still have the right to vote? As well, how long can a person be delinquent before they're foreclosed on?
Forever. Forever, from what I'm understanding. That's the reason Linda is going to this seminar to find out what the new rules and regulations are. There's more to it than that you and I will ever know about it right now. So that's the reason we've got her going to that seminar with the lawyer to figure some of this stuff out. So, Mr. Lawrence.
How long do you have to be delinquent before you can start foreclosure procedures
Linda,
on the people?
Would you answer that?
Do you know that, Linda?
Well, the new laws
mandate that someone who's delinquent, and usually at this point in time, if you're more than 60 days, we consider you delinquent. We try to notify you by the mail, but we're now mandated to be able to prove to the judge, because we're going from non-judicial foreclosure to judicial foreclosure, mandated by the state. We need to be able to prove to the judge that we made every attempt to get these people on a payment plan. How long were they on a payment plan? 3 to 18 months to get caught up. If they default, and the rules change, they swing back in our favor if they default on a payment plan. But we must put them on a payment plan, which means they need to be babysat. And then if they default, then we have the right to go into foreclosure, but it's judicial, which means an attorney must appear before a judge, which costs no money.
Okay, moving on.
One more question, Ms. Winchell.
My question on this new law would be, is there any mechanism for a homeowners association to say, all right, yes, you're a delinquent member, you still have the right to vote, you have the right to run for the board, but is there a cutoff? If they do not pay their dues, let's say for a year, and resist all attempts, can we not declare them non-members and do at least do away with having, as you said, Sam, deadbeats try to tell us what we can and cannot do?
I'm hoping that when she finishes seminar, we'll know some more about
You
that.
probably need to start attending legislative seminars and make your vote known that
It's also
it
new
needs
that
to
we really
swing back
don't
the
know.
other way. Or
And that's
go at
another
least-
reason we're asking her to do this. Now, going on to item number 20. Discussion, consideration, purchase of carpet for Shafter Hall apartment. For many of you may not know, we've got an apartment at the end of Shafter Hall up there that we rent out sometimes. It has not had any remodeling or anything done to it in probably 30 years, Janelle.
Well, since, great question there. Since, I guess it would have been 86 when the sales office moved down there.
So what we're wanting to do is put new carpet in here, we're fixing it back up, and hopefully when the motel is full, or somebody's wanting a kitchenette, we can go ahead and rent this out, what we're trying to do with this. So do I have a motion to accept bid on the carpet? I got a motion, do I have a second? I got a motion and a second to purchase the carpet for the Shafter Hall apartment. All in favor? Motion passes, 3 members of the board voting. Discussion, consideration, donation to assist with the hiring of hydrologists. If you were at last month's board meeting, there was some lengthy discussion of the I went blank, I'm sorry. The levels of our groundwater on Blossmore Street, our DFCs is what I was looking for. And actually that hearing and stuff was the 18th and 19th of this month. I believe that we collected, I'm going to let Janelle talk about this.
Well, actually, Mr. Garcia, defer to him, he attended the meeting, I did not. Just in short, the donations, request was made at the last meeting for any member to donate if they so chose after the board passed the resolution in support of the DFCs, the 1182, I believe. We've had right at $2,700 has come in from members. I would like, in talking to them, the ones they have already paid already paid the hydrologist, but we need to send in our share too, to help offset this expense. I was initially thinking probably $1,500. I think we can get by with maybe $1,200, and it would be sufficient for our part. But as far as what actually went on at the meeting, he knows more of the technical stuff better than I do.
Let's do the vote on, or do I have a
I
motion?
make a motion that we make a donation to the fund that was set up to hire a hydrologist in the sum of $1,500, or what is required to finish out,
I've got a motion and a second to, Court Clerk to go ahead and do the donation of what it costs to have this hydrologist go to this meeting and speak up for the DFCs on Lost Morris Creek. All in favor? Motion passes, 3 members of the board voting. I have a hand in the audience. Mary Francis?
I understand, Janelle, that we collected $2,700. Is that what you said?
Right at 2,700.
And we're only going to send them $1,200? So what's going to happen with the rest of the, with the overage? Because we contributed to an escrow fund for this purpose.
Yes.
What's going to happen to that money?
Well, it goes to the hydrologist along with, all this is doing is the association adding to what the members have contributed.
Oh, okay, so that money's going to get used up.
Yeah, we'll be sending the cashier's check to the.
Okay, I misunderstood what you
Yes.
said.
Another hand, Linda?
The donations for this, I understand that we can donate personally to this?
Yes.
And do we do that at the bank?
You can do it at the fort, no?
Right now, we don't need any more, sufficient has come in. So just hold your money because further down the road, from what I understand, may need it further down the road for something else.
Yeah, for members that weren't at the last meeting, where they talked about our aquifer and our DFCs, and for the members that are not here during the summertime, but the members that are here during the summertime, I would ask that you talk to the members that drove along Lost Morris Creek, and we got involved with the TECQ when we had to dump our pool and shut it down and see if we could get waters to the ranches and stuff. This issue is not going to go away, and if we have a drought like we had last summer, we won't have a Lost Morris Creek. So this is important. We're talking about the groundwater level, and we need to support it. Thank you.
Henry, you went to that meeting. Was there anything of interest that the crowd was concerned?
Well, the issues come about with respect to what is called desired future conditions on a monitoring well that the Texas Water Development Board uses as a trigger point, if you will. And that 1184 is the level, that the water level that can, at that point, anything below that, then the Texas Water Development Board and the groundwater districts locally here, in this case in Kenny County, needs to start taking action and cutting down pumping, and if it requires even shutting down those wells that are producing, say, for commercial purposes, and provide the water for domestic use and of those livestock use. The hearing was called for on a petition by Grass Valley Group. I call them Grass Valley Group. That's not their legal term, but it's Grass Valley petitioned that and said that the 1184 was unreasonable and it affected their ability to do business. Now, they're in the business of providing water, they're purveyors of water to other locations. And in their presentation, something that stuck with me was in their PowerPoint preservation. I'm sorry. Their PowerPoint presentation, they showed everything east of Uvalde as a major metropolitan area with over 1 million people that provide all this economic development for the state of Texas and their lack of water. And then they showed the west of Uvalde County where it's very, how should I say, not very highly inhabited, and more water that they can use. The water's being wasted. It's just going into the Rio Grande, and just a few people are holding up progress to the east. That's basic, and I'm paraphrasing that. basically what their presentation was, that we in this area, in Kenny County, and they also brought in Val Verde County. I did not attend that meeting. That meeting was the next day. But they put on a case basically saying that they needed that water and to sell it over to what we know as we call the San Antonio area, and that big metropolitan area, and that we had more water than we needed. Now, one of the things that impressed me is the fact that this issue is not just a Kenny County issue. The manager of the groundwater resources out of Maverick County, Mr. Cooley, he made a presentation, and he also read a resolution by the commissioners of Maverick County. And his presentation actually stated that there are people that actually, communities that draw water directly from the Rio Grande. And that Los Morris Springs, Pinto Creek, Mud Creek, and everything else that runs through the county eventually dumps into the Rio Grande River. So when these tributaries run dry, that's less water going into the river, that's less water that's provided to them. And this goes all the way down to Laredo. So I felt, when I left that meeting, I felt that we had made some headway. It's not over. It won't be over for a long time. But we did make some headway. The fact that there was a number of people in that meeting, because there were also a number of staff members of the Texas Water Development Board that will eventually take all this testimony, sit down on a table like this, and discuss the merits of all the testimony. They then will make a recommendation to the commission, to the Texas Water Development Board, as to make their recommendation whether that to uphold Grass Valley's position or to uphold what this groundwater district has set up. So it's not over by a long shot. We have, and I believe we have till February 10th to submit further.
February 2nd.
I'm sorry. Thank you, ma'am. February 2nd to submit further documentation. It requires that it'll be submitted as testimony, so it requires that it be notarized before it's sent in. So there are groups that are in fact that I'm aware of that are in fact going to send in further testimony on this.
Yes, may I
Yes,
say
yes,
something?
ma'am. You were at the meeting also.
Yes, I was, because I'm fighting Grass Valley tooth and toenail.
Yes, ma'am.
We, my sisters and I, have surface water rights on Los Morris. And Grass Valley is going to make it impossible for us to exercise those water rights. That's the basis of my argument. I think you said that the Texas Water Development Board has anything to do with our Tularosa test well. I thought it was just, or monitoring well, I thought it was just Kenny County groundwater district.
No, ma'am. It was established originally by Edwards Aquifer Authority. They are the ones that, and that was submitted to the development board, and they agreed that they would use that as a monitoring well.
Okay. And Grass Valley says we only have one monitoring well, you can't, that's not enough, and that it is not, we have not proved that the Edwards Aquifer feeds Los Morris Springs. However, Mr. Who is the hydraulic? Goebel. Thank you, Mr. Goebel said that the dye has shown up below by the Red Bridge. So my contention is It has always been that is Edwards aquifer water that's coming up out of the springs. Okay. I was very happy to see, I wondered why nobody else, I'm the only one that's talking about surface water, why nobody else came forward. Now Maverick County is coming forward for the Rio Grande, and it goes all the way to the Gulf.
Yes, ma'am.
And not just to Eagle Pass that people take water out of the Rio Grande.
Yes, ma'am.
So we've got to, you have to let, I don't know what you have to do, but we have got to keep them from draining our aquifer so they can make a lot of money. For what reason, I have no idea. That's all they want. They own, Grass Valley owns not 1 square inch of land in King County, and probably not any in Val Verde County, Maverick County, Valley County, Rock Springs area. They don't own 1 square inch of land. I've checked on Kitty County. I haven't checked on the other counties.
No, they're strictly in the
They're
business.
just to make money off of our water.
Yes, ma'am. They're in the business of providing water, selling water. They're basically, if you would look at them as a broker.
And in
That's all they
Austin,
are.
the move, you are right, is towards big, lots of people should get the water. You people out there, that's all right. You can move or you can die or whatever, but you don't need the water. And I thought that our Constitution, our laws were written so that people, the little person was protected from the big water monsters, right? And that is, as we have got to do something now. My question is, what is the hydrologist that we're going to give this money to? What hydrologist is that? We're not hiring a new one, are we?
No, ma'am. That is to help defer the cost that Dr. Green, the hydrologist that made the presentation at the meeting,
Okay.
and I believe he was also at the second meeting.
Okay.
And so that's where that money is going to. He is very knowledgeable. He has spent, he's actually written some of the documentation that is currently being used to quite frankly, in our favor. He has spent a lot of time in this area and pretty well knows it, to the fact that there are some landowners that see him coming and they lock their gates because they don't want him on their property seeing what the water's doing.
Okay, I need to explain also to Fort Clark membership. You own not one quart of that water that goes through the springs, down the creek to the Rio Grande. You have no surface water rights whatsoever. You do have the right to, you're really not stopping the water at the pool. I don't understand that thing about making them close the pool because they dammed up the lagoon. I call it the lagoon. You only have the right to impound 1.6 acre-feet of water in that lagoon, and you cannot impound it in that lagoon if water is not flowing all the way down Los Morris. Los Morris is not flowing past Standard Lane. Standard Lane is the road that goes from Spofford over to, I don't know what that.
Comes out on 90.
9.
No, Standard Lane doesn't come out on 9.
Yes, it does.
Yes, it does.
Yeah,
Yeah,
oh, okay.
Oh, we drove it.
It goes,
Where you go up Rock Creek.
Yeah.
runs down by the railroad. What is,
Goes along the railroad.
Standard Lane goes along the railroad from
Okay.
Spofford to, I thought it kept going, it turns and comes up to 90.
Highway 90.
Okay, it goes by the common place, by the, by where?
Just past Perdido Creek.
Oh, okay. Anyway, and so, I am going to call TC, and it's TCEQ, that's, TCEQ has charge of surface water. The Texas Water Development Board has charge of underground water. Landowner has the rain that falls on his ground. That belongs to him. He can stop it before it gets into a creek. But once it gets into the creek, it becomes state water, and the state has control of it. And I'm gonna call TECQ and tell them that because the Los Morris is not flowing all the way to the Rio Grande, they have to remove that dam that is retaining water at the lagoon. Now, we made them, I don't know where Fort Park got their information, but they dammed up the whole lagoon and stopped the flow completely.
The lagoon has been opened ever since they had us shut down the pool. And it is still open.
It's only open, it's not open at the big, it's not open on the Los Morris course. It's only open on a little side thing. I made them do that. They're gonna have to open up the other dam, okay? I'm sorry about that, but that's just the way it is when we don't have any water.
But we do need to move on. I know the water issue. We've got to protect our water. We need to move on.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Mr. Griswold?
Do we get any credit for the water that we're dumping into the creek out of our,
No. No.
Don't meter it. I know we don't meter it, but it's running right now and running good.
Yes. Diane, you've had your hand up for quite a while.
Yeah, I think everybody needs to know that Grass Valley is the enemy, arch enemy here. They are the people who are grabbing money from whatever source they can get money, and our water is one of those sources. Now, I'm getting emails from the gentleman that's been to all the meetings, and he's telling us, those of us that are getting the emails, that the hydrologist did an excellent job of presenting our issues and our concerns. But y'all need to know that Grass Valley's the enemy. It's the group of people that wants our water, and they want it for a profit for themselves. They aren't going to give us anything. So, we needed to know that.
Item number 22, appointment of 2 Recreation Committee members.
I make a motion that we accept the nomination to the Recreation Committee, or the Recreation Committee of Rosa Shepherd and Jim Strode. Rosa?
John and Paula Griswold.
Oh, I'm sorry, John and Paula. I apologize, John. I apologize. I'm reading the bottom line. Anyway, I make a motion that we appoint John and Paula Griswold to the Architectural Committee.
I've got a motion to accept John and Paula Griswold to the Recreation Committee. Do I have a second? I've got a motion and a second to appoint John and Paula Griswold to the Recreation Committee. All in favor? Motion passes. Welcome, John and Paula Griswold. Number 23, I've got some people on here. I think we pretty much discussed. If you've got anything else to say, I'm just going to go through these names right quick. Linda Gorchinsky, did we cover everything you had?
I think you did.
Doug Phillips?
Yes.
Woody Hornberg?
No, ma'am. Mine was not on the agenda. I'm Woody Trotter Hornberg, member in a good standing. I live in Unit 21 and have a place in Unit 1. My concern is why the membership is being punished for the lack of foresight of 3 board members' decision on the previous board. They met as a threesome and acted as a kangaroo court when Mr. Holloway, Mr. Hahn, and Mr. Young decided to fire Mr. Cerna, our Director of Operations, and cancel our hunting contract with Mr. Straw. The other 2 board members were only informed after the fact. When the voting took place and resulted in Mr. Key and Mrs. Burley resigning. The assessment of $42 on every membership to bail us out of a debt that has resulted in a loss of 16 members in December and 7 in January. There are wealthy people in Lampasas, Texas, that are trying to give their memberships away and can't, according to a source I know that works at the bank in Lampasas. My solution to this travesty is to make the 3 board members, Mr. Hahn, Mr. Young, and Mr. Holloman, responsible for the expenses that have been added to due to their actions. Why is the membership being punished for 3 members acting illegally? Make them responsible for paying Mr. Stroff and Mr. Cerna's expenses. Mr. Cerna's lawsuit could cost us as much as $200,000. Mr. Strauss was paid off $37,000. There are members, including myself, that are being assessed for multi-memberships. I have 3 memberships, which would cost me an additional $126. Members like the Warners, Hattie Burley, Elsa O'Rourke, and Art Baker have more than 10 memberships apiece and are being assessed approximately $500 or more. This is an abominable solution, and I think the board should consider this action. Thank you.
They have noted that, and next person on the Shelley Brown.
You covered everything.
Thank you. I've got a D. I can't read the last name on it. Something that starts with a D.
Daniels.
Is that Diane Daniels?
Well, it don't look like Diane Daniels.
But in any case, there's going to be a Meet the Candidates Forum. It's going to be held on February 11th. This year, it's being held at the Fort Clark Post Theater. It is not going to be held where we've had it in the past. That building is occupied for today. It's been rented out, and we can't complain about that. In any case, the forum will be held again on Saturday, February 11th at Fort Clark Theater at 10 a.m. A letter requesting the presence of the candidates at this meeting has been presented to them this morning. You each got your letter from me, and it's like this. And I put your number on the outside of the letter, and it is indicative of where you will be seated at the table, because I seat you as you are presented on the ballot, so that if somebody is speaking to number 4, they like the answer that they got, they can write 4 down on their sheet of paper, and they will know then who or what. Didn't mean to, Ralph, I didn't mean to bring your name out, but I it was just a number. In any case, you're all invited to this particular Meet the Forum. It's usually a very informative and interesting situation where people who are going to be elected to the board have the position to, or the opportunity to present to you the information that they want you to know about them.
What time was it again?
It's at 10 a.m. This will be placed, for all intents and purposes, the community council meeting. Community council will have a very brief meeting at the beginning of this Meet the Forum, and Meet the Candidates Forum. That's all.
Excuse me, Diane?
Yes.
Really quickly, you're asking us in this letter to meet at the Service Club at 9:45. Is that a typo?
That's a typo.
We should, thank you.
Please arrive at the Post Clark Theater.
My next person on the list is Sam Lark.
That is on February 11th.
Hello, everyone. I'm Sam Lark. Think of me as the comedy relief guy. That's sort of like the Jingles Jones, you know, hockey. First, I'd like to say I'm a native Texan, and I'm probably in a minority here. My family's been here in Texas since 1836. My ancestors fought with General Sam when we defeated the Mexican army on April the 21st of 1836, the Battle of San Jacinto. So I have the credentials to say what I